Welcome to BioRhythms, moving biological portraits of Hampton Roads notables. Brought to you by the New Journal and Guide and executive publisher Brenda H. Andrews. The New Journal and Guide is the oldest continuously producing African-American newspaper in the state of Virginia. We're at the Granby Street Bistro at 225 Granby Street between Tazewell and Brook. And owner proprietor Adele Hodges has prepared a nice little feast for us as we do our interviews. We're going to get into that a little bit later. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Miss Rosalind Russell. Hey, welcome to BioRhythms.
Thank you.
So tell me, Rosalind, you were born in Washington, D.C.? You're native of Washington, D.C.?
I sure am.
All right, what part of D.C.?
Southeast.
You know, I told you I lived all over Washington.
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
All right, now, did you have any interest at all in acting when you were a little kid?
Actually, I didn't.
No?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Not even school plays or anything like that?
Well, in summer camp,
right,
we used to do talent shows, and I always tried to sing. But I can't sing, but I still tried. So that doesn't count.
Okay, so you left Washington, your family moved to Maryland, and after you graduated from high school, you did something pretty spectacular.
Went straight into the Marine Corps.
The U.S.
17
Marines.
years old.
Semper Fi, at 17 years old.
17.
And you, what did you do in the Marines? What was your MOS? Or they call it in the Marines your MOS?
MOS? How did you know that?
I was in ROTC, so I know a little bit. So what was your MOS in the Marines?
I was an administrator.
An administrator? Okay. And after you retired from the Marines, in fact, when did you retire?
2006.
2006.
Are you trying to date me?
No. I mean, we could always go on a date, but I'm not trying to date you. No. I told you this is going to be wide open, right? We're going to have a big fun. Okay. So tell me, you retired from the military in 2006.
I did.
And that was 8 years ago, right? And in that 8 years, you've done a whole lot. When did you first realize that you wanted to pursue acting?
That was probably in about 2011.
Really?
Right, yeah, because after I got out of the Marine Corps, I went back and worked for the Marine Corps in the government.
Okay.
I worked there for about 3 years.
Okay.
And then a good friend of mine, Tina Carter.
Who was working with the government. She still does, doesn't she? Okay.
Yes. She wrote a play.
Right.
And asked me to go try out for it, and I did. The rest is history.
And the name of the play?
When the Devil's at Your Door.
Okay, and Tina has a production company. What is that?
Sister Entertainment.
What did you do in that show? What was your role?
I had a small role, but it was really, really important. I just want to say, all roles are important.
There are no small roles.
Exactly.
Right.
And I played Sean.
Sean.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were telling me that Sean was kind of like an antagonist.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Created all kind of havoc for them. But then over the years, I trained, I got better, and she actually gave me the lead role. So now I play Summer.
What is that lead? Summer?
Summer.
Tell us about Summer. What was?
Well, Summer, she's in love, and then mayhem happens, and mayhem is the devil's at your door. And it just shows how, as we continue to rely on God, it brings us back full circle.
And that is one thing I noticed about Tina's work, that it's very much Christian-oriented, which I really, really, truly like. Because you went from doing When the Devil's at Your Door to doing the Redemption Center. Yeah.
Yes.
And what did you do in the Redemption Center? I know you've done so many different roles, it's hard to keep track. Right?
In the Redemption Center, I played a street lady, night walker.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Those are real people too.
Those are real people too.
And it summons forth a real challenge to do those kinds of things.
Right.
And then I went to see you in Extremities.
Yes, you did.
I want to share a personal moment with you. I know you were an acting student of mine at one time, and I took my youngest daughter to see Extremities. And she said that when you walked on the stage, she could tell that you were my student.
Is that right?
And you have any idea how that made me feel?
Wow.
Yeah. But awesome. You went from that acting workshop to taking workshops in New York. And that was a completely different experience.
After the workshop and after I did Extremities, I actually left the government. So I had no job. And I just said, well, if you're going to do this, do this.
Right.
And I went to New York and took some classes in New York. And then after that, it just has been a whirlwind.
Where did you take these classes in New York?
It was the Ted Barty Acting Studio.
Okay. All right. So what was that New York experience like? What would you say to a local actor about the importance of that experience in New York?
Oh, it is absolutely important. It's important to know that it's bigger than you think it is. I think that when I was here, I felt like it was just this area. It was small.
Right.
But
right.
when I went to New York and I saw people on their grind and the sincerity for this business, and to find out that you think, I said, okay, you know, I'm over 40, I'm in good shape, you know, I have a nice look.
You're not really over 40.
Huh?
You're not really over 40.
No,
That's my
no.
attempt to date you.
It's working. So when I went to New York, I found out that there are bunches of people that look just like me. So I had to find something that was going to set me apart from them. So here, you feel like, okay, it's only me and maybe one other person that's
Right.
in my category, but it's
Right.
me. And it was, I went to casting call, it was like 13, 14, 15 of us in there. We all had the same look.
Right, right.
So I think that's why it's important to get out and see that it's big.
Let's talk again about your military career. What did you bring to your acting career from your experience in the military? How did your military career help sculpt your pursuit of your acting career?
A very big thing is organization and learning to prioritize things. Because there's so much out here happening, if you don't know how to prioritize your stuff, you mess yourself up. You can get lost in all of this stuff. There are many phone calls to make. There are many websites. You've got to have some kind of organizational skills, or it's just a mess. You're just spinning wheels. You got to find a direction to be able to go in. And I think it's almost like when we have compasses and we have to find different locations on this point. I'm looking at a map and I say, I want this. Okay, so how do I get to there? I know how to write out a plan. I know how to write out a plan of attack for this and go get that. And I take that kind of mentality on with this acting too.
So you went from acting on the stage and you're doing a lot of television and film. I want to talk about the web series Storm in just a moment, but let's talk a little bit more about some of the other television experience. What other kind of things have you done?
Well, when I started out, I started doing extra work because I wanted to get out there and I wanted to feel that feeling and hear what they're saying behind the camera, hear what the director is saying, so you can learn to follow these things when you get to the bigger set. So I did a lot of work in Atlanta. I actually did some work in Pittsburgh. There's a new movie just came out, Fault of Our Stars.
Okay.
And I was on that. It's a really good movie too. I went to go see
I'm sorry,
that.
what is the name of it?
Fault of Our Stars.
Okay, all right.
It's a romantic comedy.
Okay.
So that one, Resurrection, Fast and Furious. But you get to be on those sets, and then too you get to understand that it's still very, very big.
Right.
You know, and you understand that there is a role for everybody. So there are dream chasers out there who think, I don't have the look. But if you would see the set, there is anything that you can imagine are on these sets. So you do have the look. You have the look. If you have the look and you have the dream, you have the desire, go get it.
So you've done television and you have some other film projects as well.
Yes. I'm doing an indie film right now called Be Careful What You Pray For in Delaware. And actually the director from my first short in New York told this director about me, and he saw my reel and he said, I don't care where she is, I gotta have her. And that was the biggest compliment ever. Ever.
Roz, what do you find, well, what did you find thus far, the biggest challenge in your career as an actress? Yeah, you mentioned, you know, the number of folks that create a competition for you that are going for the same role. Is there anything beyond that that you found particularly challenging?
Research is challenging. I would say research because it just, you have a small window when somebody puts a casting call out there. You think it's just you and 4 other people applying for this thing, but if you're sleeping, you're not getting roles.
Right, right.
You know, I had to learn that nighttime. People are working, people who are directing or writing, they're writing and during the daytime, and then at nighttime is when they're posting these casting calls. So if you're sleeping at night, you miss it. You miss it. So maybe researching. They say starving actors and starving actresses.
Right.
That's serious. It's real. It's real.
You know, as we're talking, you know, we're living in an area that has seen a lot of weather as of late, and you know, we can hear the thunder rolling in the background. That makes for a perfect segue to talk about your web series. Well, and the web series is called Storm.
Storm.
Tell us about Storm.
Oh, wow. Storm, it follows a woman who just had a multi-million-dollar corporation just thrown in her lap. And the people around her don't think that she can handle this corporation, but her intent at every turn is to prove them wrong. Not only is she going to prove them wrong, but she's going to do everything in her power to supersede any expectations of this kind of corporation. So anytime a woman especially is put in a position where she thinks she's not going to succeed and she has to go that extra mile to succeed, it creates storms all over the place. So these are storms in her family relationships, in her personal relationships.
And you are the creator and producer of Storm.
Yes.
And starring in it. In your role as a creator and producer, I know that those roles in your real life are different from the type of corporate environment that Storm is in. But how do those challenges that you face as an independent creator and producer of a film, how does that compare to some of the kind of challenges that the Storm faced? Do you see some of the same kind of challenges that you face in producing? In
my real life, or
yes, in your real life as a creator and producer, you know, that's you're developing an original product, okay, that you're writing as well. Did you find it difficult to find people to step in and join you in this project?
No,
Good.
Absolutely not. I tell you, sometimes things like that make you. There was a guy on my set, he said they're called God winks. When things when things fall into place, that's God winking, telling you, yeah, go that way. So I really had no problem. I found a director that I wanted. I had to buy him a couple of drinks, but that was okay. And I found a director I wanted. I did casting calls here in Atlanta, and it just kind of just fell. The locations fell right into place.
And what did you learn from that experience? Is it, I mean, because you're on the other side of the camera now, you've gone from acting for the camera to running things behind the camera. I know that's a big transition.
Huge. The biggest thing, and it was what the director said before he even came on as director, he said, your work is done in pre-production. And he could not have been more right. I think the way, because our things ran as smooth as they did, was because of all the work we did in pre-production. One of the biggest things that I learned, though, is when you decide to hire people onto your projects, you need to see them. You need to talk to them. You need to understand what it is they do. If you don't understand what it is they do, you can't hold them accountable for it. You have to know these pieces, how these pieces fit together. And because I didn't know those things, I had to learn them as I went along. Season 2 is going to be amazing. That's all I'm going to say. Season 2.
I can't wait to see it. And this is going to be online. This is a web series starting August 17th.
Yep.
Storm, written and produced and starring Rosalind Russell. What would you say, Ross, to an aspiring young actress? You know, one that you like to see follow in your footsteps. You know, what would you tell them to look out for? What would you tell them to expect?
I would tell them to expect ups and downs. The downs are never long in the big scheme of things. A lot of times when we're on this journey, we can only see this. We don't see this.
The big picture.
The big picture. You got to be able to see the big picture. If you can see the big picture, you can get to the finish line. If you can only see this much, it's going to be hard.
Now, in these past 3 to 4 years, you started really pursuing it pretty seriously in 2011. Where is the finish line? What do you see yourself doing 10 years from now, ideally?
Directing.
Oh, directing?
Yeah.
Directing television and or film?
I would like to direct a film. I would like to direct a romantic comedy.
And one of the projects that you're in now is a romantic comedy.
And they're so fun.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, wow. Yes.
Might I ask, what does directing, what appeal does directing have to you? What excites you about directing? Why do you want to direct?
Having your vision be the end product. I even when I'm sitting here on this film, I have no business directing. I'm directing all in my head. I've figured out this is how they're supposed to be. I want to see this scene come together like this. I'm already doing it in my head.
When you're bringing people onto the team, you want them to share your vision for Storm. How do you share your vision? What do you just simply talk to them?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just talk.
Okay.
Just talk. So, and normally in an environment such as this, so that everybody's relaxed, so you get to know people after a couple of drinks.
After a couple of drinks.
After a couple of drinks.
Those two drinks are important. Right?
Those are important because they need to be relaxed because you know everybody puts on their best face first. I don't want the best face. I want to know what it is you like when you're not at your best. Right. Because it's stressful. I need to know, am I going to have to choke you? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I need to know where your head is at when push comes to shove. So, yeah.
When you play a character, you mentioned research, okay, and that is one of the challenging things because you have a small window of opportunity to do the research, particularly if you're going to research something before you audition. But isn't research kind of rewarding?
It is. It is. And I didn't really understand the importance until I tried to do something without researching. It's a very different feel, extremely different. You can push yourself into a character, so to speak, but it's so different when you understand the character that you're playing, and so it's so natural. Then you know you sit like them, you laugh like whoever it is that you're trying to be. So.
Do you have days or moments that you feel on and off? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when you really feel into the character that you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. What is that like? You know, and how do you, if you're feeling very good about something that you know, you can feel that character.
Oh man, yeah.
That's a great feeling.
That is, it is a high. It is. That's what it is. It's a high.
It's remarkable.
It is. And on the other side of it, when you're not, you know you're not. I've walked off a set and just felt like crying because I knew I didn't give them what I should have gave them. You know, and. They say, "Oh, you did a great job," but you know. And
how do you work through that? You know, because you can meet someone else's expectations, but when it comes to meeting your own, you know, that's we're harder on ourselves. You know, so when that happens to you, what do you do? How do you?
I write it. I write in my journal about it, so that I remember not to be there.
Okay.
Remember how important it is.
So you journal as well?
I do.
Do you journal every day?
No,
Well,
not every day.
Frequently, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell us about that. How important is that to you?
Oh, it's very important. I go back and I read them sometimes, and they help shape your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you remember your pains, you remember things that you went through and how you felt when that happened, and it helped guide you. Yeah.
I want to ask you a difficult question.
Mm.
If you were to portray a character
Mm-hmm.
by the name of Rosalind Russell, how would you go about the research? How would you approach it? You know, if you didn't know anything at all about yourself, and you were tasked with playing Rosalind Russell, I guess honestly, you would probably take the same approach. You do your research, you find some kind of way to do your research.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think that you would learn about portraying Rosalind Russell?
She's a survivor. She's a survivor.
I know you well, and that's for sure. Go ahead, keep on.
One of my husband passed away in 1990, and there was a lady that said to me, she said, "You're a cat. You're gonna land on your feet." And that's been the motto from them.
You know, I'm having to resist the temptation to talk about another project that we have made a reference to, and we'll tease the audience a little bit, tease our viewers a little bit with this question, with this comment. We've talked about you portraying a woman that you look a lot like, and I think our viewers are going to see this when they see you on camera. Mm-hmm. And that woman's name is
Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt. And at some point, we are going to pull that project together.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. You have her energy. You have, you know, the sensual quality. You know, you have her stature, and you look a lot like her.
I keep hearing that. I keep hearing that.
I bet you do. Are there any other words that you would like to say to our viewers about who Rosalind Russell is and what they can expect from you? Because you got a whole lot going on.
I tell you, just keep watching and to let what I do inspire you, and let you know that life doesn't stop at 40. And
well, I certainly say not.
I will tell you, when I decided to do this, so many people said, "Oh my goodness, but you're over 40 and you have kids and you have a career. You can't do that. It won't work. You're too old to act."
They actually said you're too old
What?
to act.
Yes.
They've never heard of the old adage that life begins at 40. Right?
Well, they can see it now on my Facebook page.
And your life is doing exceedingly well.
Yes.
Exceedingly well. Rosalind, I want to thank you so very much for joining us today for this edition of BioRhythms. This is a new project. We're excited about it. We're excited about the other folks that are going to come on to the show. So I guess the last thing we should probably do is talk a little bit more about Storm and where folks can find it. You have I know it starts on August the 17th. So would they just Google Storm, or?
It'll be on YouTube. It'll come out on YouTube first.
Okay.
And on my Facebook page, www.facebook.com/storm9189.
918. Okay.
9189.
All right.
And all of our stuff will be out there. The links will be out there as well.
You do get around. Again, my dear, thank you so very much. As I've often told you, I'm very, very proud of you and what you're doing.
Thank you.
You know, you are representing a whole lot for promising and aspiring actors in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Thank you for joining us. We'll look to see you in the next edition of BioRhythms.